Hello and welcome to another episode of KARE 11 On the Record. I'm political reporter Danny Spiewak. We continue our candidate interviews and previews of major elections in Minnesota this year with a look again at the auditor's race, the statewide auditor's race, where there are a number of candidates both on the Democratic and Republican side seeking their party's endorsement. That includes Zack Filipovich on the DFL side. He is running for auditor as an accountant and former Duluth City Council member who says he feels he's the best fit for his party. Well, thank you for coming to KARE 11 to talk about your campaign. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Danny.
Yeah, first, let's just get to know you a little bit because, voters are going to be learning the auditor's race here over the next several weeks. Just tell us a little bit about your background and why you got into this race.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One, I am so excited to run for Minnesota State Auditor. This is a very, very important role for the state, for our local communities everywhere in every part of the state. I'm actually the only accountant in this race so far, and when we saw the announcement that Julie Blaha, our current state auditor, was not going to run for her term, it was actually a couple weeks before my wedding. And my wife, Emily, and I, we've both been involved with local politics, and we had a conversation in depth about what would this mean if we ran to help our local communities across the state? The state auditor's office does so much for local units of government with the oversight, with the guidance, with the data and information that they're able to provide to support local governments across the state.
What would you say would be among your top 2-3 priorities if you were elected?
Yeah, well, one, making sure that those services, that oversight in the form of audits and special investigations remain consistent. And so local taxpayers and local elected officials know that their tax dollars are going to the right places. Second, with that data information side, knowing that we're able to share best practices from other communities across the state that folks know some of those things and maybe can implement ideas from other parts of the state in their own communities. That's that making the best decisions for their own communities. And then third, making sure that local communities have that guidance, that kind of technical assistance and training, so that township treasurer who might be new or that finance person in a finance office like I was in a local unit of government is able to get their questions answered and be able to actually report those local tax dollars correctly. That's what I want to make sure remains consistent. And then I think it's because I'm the only accountant in the race. I'm the only one talking about the shortage of accountants in our state. 75% of CPAs will be retiring in the next 5 to 7 years. That's going to have a drastic impact on not only the office and the staff, but every local community in every part of the state. We need to help solve that. I'm ready to partner with local communities to help solve that.
You spent a long time on the Duluth City Council, and you're looking to make a leap to the state level. Without state experience, make an argument to a delegate or a voter in a primary about why you have the ability to lead a statewide office.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like I said, I'm very, very excited about this race. I served 8 years on the Duluth City Council. I was the youngest city councilor ever elected to the Duluth City Council. I actually represented more people than a state senator does, just at that local level of government, which is where the state auditor's office actually works and with. And so besides me having that local government experience, I'm the only accountant in this race, knowing what the boots on the ground folks actually do day in and day out in that office. I think it's going to be a real benefit, not only for those staff folks doing that work, but also for the local communities who receive the benefit of the state auditor's office. I've seen an audit process from both sides of the table. I've worked in a local government at a local wastewater treatment plant up in Duluth, so I know what those government auditing standards actually are and can help implement those and help local units of government implement those.
We're several weeks away now from the convention, the party convention, and as you're seeking an endorsement, you've got a crowded field. You've got a lot of qualified candidates running, including yourself. What, in your opinion, is your pitch to a delegate as to why you deserve the endorsement?
Yeah, we are working extremely hard, reaching out to folks. That's part of the reason why this office is so exciting, because it gives the opportunity to go out into communities all across the state and help maybe partner with a local unit of government official or maybe a finance person in those local units of government and talk with constituents about where their local tax dollars actually go and why that's important. So when you turn on the tap faucet and clean water comes out, or when you call up your local fire department and they come and service you in your time of greatest need, you know, and you can thank your local government, but you can also thank the Minnesota State Auditor's Office for making sure that those dollars are accountable to you. And I think that's a message that everybody across the board understands.
I've asked this question to other candidates that are running for auditor. It is a little bit of an under-the-radar race. Why should somebody at home care about the state auditor's race?
Exactly what I said. These tax dollars are the closest ones to you and to me and everyone and every Minnesotan out there. And we need those dollars to work, and we need to make sure that we can trust that they're going to the right places. And so when I talk about the guidance and the technical assistance, let's make sure that we have those internal controls in place at that local level, so we know that our local tax dollars are going to the right places. We've seen costs go up and up and up, not only for ourselves, for individuals, but our local units of government have those same challenges too. And it is imperative now more than ever that we are having a watchdog look after our local units of government financials.
Yeah, with the issue of fraud, it obviously, it's not a position that directly oversees state agencies in the sense that people think, but it's become part of the campaign because of just all the attention around it. Do you support extending or broadening the authority of the auditor's office to investigate fraud at the state level?
I do not. No, I think that's right now a bad idea. First, there's 90 or so folks in the state auditor's office. There's a high turnover rate, and we need to stabilize that first. This office should be focused on local units of government. $60 billion over 3,500 local governmental entities that rely on this service. I do not want those services to lose focus or be lost. I do not want duplication of services. We're already being taxed enough, and we need to make sure that the legislative auditor has what they need. That's a job for the state legislature, who hires that person and their team. The state auditor is here for local units of government, and that's where it should stay.
This race in the general election 4 years ago was really close. It was I think a half percentage point. If you were fortunate enough to be the candidate in the general election, how would you run against a Republican candidate, and what would be a really competitive race probably?
Yeah, you're right. This is going to be a competitive race, and quite frankly, I'm ready for it. We have the team, the field team in place. We've been raising the money. I don't know if folks have seen the most recent quarter one financial reports. We are raising money from individuals across this state. Folks are donating to Team Zack because they want a competent, certified management accountant in this role to help make sure that our local units of government get what they need. This is a grassroots campaign, and we're going to be doing it just like other campaigns have in the past, reaching out to folks on their doors, on their phones. That direct voter contact is extremely important, especially in a race where might not get the most attention. And there might be a little bit of confusion as to what this role actually does, and that's protecting our local tax dollars.
Is there anything you would do differently than the current auditor, Julie Blaha?
Yeah, I'm the only accountant in this race, and I think that's why I'm the only person talking about this particular issue. And that issue is there is a shortage of accountants here in Minnesota. 75% of CPAs will be retiring in the next 5 to 7 years. That's going to have a drastic impact, not only on the state auditor's office and their team, but every local community across the state. We need to partner with local communities to figure that out. That might look like resource sharing. That's going to make sure that we're having that technical assistance and guidance, so local communities know what technologies are available to them to help do that work. I met a lady named Janet down in the Le Sueur area. She's a township treasurer. This was last year, and she's retiring. She retired at the end of 2025, and I asked her, Janet, congrats on your retirement. Who's taking over for you, for your township? She didn't know. And that's a story that I know is repeated across the state. We need to figure that out because the state auditor provides that oversight, but it's the local units of government, those local finance folks that get guidance from the state auditor's office who actually do the work, the boots on the ground work. And I know what that looks like. I know the challenges that our local communities are going through.
As you're looking into the home stretch heading into the convention, what do you think will be the defining issue in the Democratic Party on this race?
I think Democrats and all voters want somebody who knows what they're talking about, somebody who is competent in the role. That is me. I have the local government experience. I have the accounting experience. I have the management experience. 12 days after my 8 years on council were up, I actually went back to school and got my MBA in strategic management. My certified management accounting credential, CMA, that actually focuses on the financial management side of accounting. And so when we are looking at how we're going to implement internal controls and strengthen those internal controls for local units of government across the state, I think that's going to be a critical factor in this race. And I think people want to know that their local units of government, their local financials are accountable to them, and that they're being safeguarded by the state auditor's office, who has a person at the helm helping to steer that.
What does your ground game look like this spring? Obviously, you've got limited time heading into the convention. What is your day-to-day like right now?
Oh, my day, I don't even know what day it is today, Danny, but no, we have a fantastic team of volunteers all across this state. They are motivated, and this is truly a grassroots campaign in every sense of the word. It has been so inspiring to see so many new people getting involved in politics this year. I've been to places, in the metro area, but also greater Minnesota where I live. I live in Duluth, but I've been to Wadena and Rochester and Moorhead and Elbow Lake and almost everywhere in between, Red Lake as well. And seeing the enthusiasm of folks wanting to get involved with politics, especially this year, seeing the challenges that some of their communities are facing and knowing that we can do something about it at the local level is really, really inspiring. And so we are partnering with folks from across the state. We have plenty of endorsement partners here, with some more on the way, and it's really exciting. That's part of the reason why I am so excited about this race, not just because of the work, but because of the new people getting involved in this process. I talk in my stump speech, I talk about drawing the circle bigger and making sure that everyone is invited in to our politics, and I'm so glad that we're seeing that.
The last question I'll ask you is, if you were elected and you were, a statewide officer in Minnesota, one of, just a handful, how would you envision your relationship with, say, whoever the governor is, the attorney general, and the state legislature? Yeah, no,
politics is about people, and people are about relationships, right? And so building those relationships, I've gotten to know some of the folks on the campaign trail here already who are running, and so being able to work with them on a bipartisan basis on looking at what is the best thing for Minnesotans, what is the best thing for local units of government. That is what this job is all about, making sure that we are able to advocate for local units of government and for the auditor's office, getting the resources that the auditor's office needs to provide these services to local units of government is going to be critically important. I've led lobby teams down to the state capitol ever since I was in college, but throughout when I was a city councilor. And so I know how to build those relationships and have those important conversations to help get communities the resources that they need to make better decisions.
All right, Zack, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome back. This week at the Minnesota State Capitol, the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce was meeting with lawmakers talking about their priorities for the rest of the session, with just about a month left to go in the 2026 legislative session. We got a chance to sit down at the Capitol with Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Doug Loon to talk about his priorities and some of the challenges facing the business community. So we have about a month left in the legislative session. From the Chamber's perspective, what are some of the top priorities for you here in the final stretch?
Well, as we go into every session, we're thinking about how do we make sure Minnesota's economy is creating economic opportunity. We want to make sure people that move here, stay here, want to start a business here, have the opportunity to create success here in Minnesota. So that's a key ingredient, everything we think about. So that applies to tax policy, regulatory policy, and affordability in Minnesota is a key ingredient, not just for businesses, but also for the consuming public as well.
When you talk about affordability, that's something that really both parties right now are trying to use, especially in an election year. What types of policies will you be pushing for that may actually have bipartisan support?
From our standpoint is how do we make sure our tax code is fair, competitive, as well as the cost that government puts on businesses that ultimately gets passed on to the consumer. So think about workplace mandates, regulations that slow down commerce. We'd like to see commerce work at the speed of its capability. And that is important to the success of the state. Anytime we slow down commerce, we slow down the opportunity for Minnesota to be competitive, and that puts our economy at a disadvantage.
One of the big regulations that I know you've talked about is paid family medical leave, the new program that just launched. You know, for many people, they see it as a lifeline, something that draws them to the state, but I know employers have had concerns. What have you seen so far in the rollout from your side?
Well, it passed in 23 and signed into law. It kicked in officially January 1 with a new mandate that applies to all employers and their employees. So it's a one-size-fits-all brought to you by the state with a payroll tax attached to it. So this thing makes Minnesota a bit less cost-effective. So there's a cost associated with it. What we're hearing from our members is the launch happened well, but there's some challenges with the implementation of it. The impact on the workforce is real. We have a very tight workforce economy right now, and this puts more pressure on that. So there's some aspects of this that's going to take some time to work through. At the same time, it's a very large mandate. It does have costs associated with it, as I said. We like to see this be managed a little bit better, making it a little bit more affordable, not just for businesses, but for employees as well.
What type of changes will you be pushing for? I know obviously you were, expressed your concerns early on in the process, although the bill still passed, but what types of changes do you think are realistic given the political climate?
Well, we think small businesses should have a little more of an advantage. A lot of times these types of employer mandates on the workplace don't apply to all small businesses. This one does. So having some type of assistance to small businesses. We also think the number of weeks is a little generous. That has an impact on the workforce. And we'd like to see that get more married up with what other states have done.
Looking at broader tax policy in Minnesota, it's interesting when you look at the way the two different parties will sometimes message on this. A lot of Democratic lawmakers really believe in the more wealthy paying their fair share, higher corporate tax rates. Republicans obviously, don't agree with that. Where do you stand on what the tax climate should look like moving forward?
Well, first of all, we have one of the most progressive tax codes in the country, meaning it's scaled based on what you make. But we also have one of the highest tax rates in the country, from the lowest first bracket all the way up to the fourth bracket, or among the highest in the country. So we pay a lot in taxes. So then the question comes, do you feel like you're getting your money's worth for the taxes that you're paying? And I think that's under some concern right now, some stress. So there needs to be a balancing of what's the appropriate size of government. We've seen a significant growth in the size of the government and expenditures that surround it in the past few years. And we've also seen taxes going up. And at some point, there's a tipping point where we become less competitive. We'll start to lose people to other states because of the costs of living here. And it's also becoming a less competitive tax code along the way as well. So there's some things we need to be doing about the right size of government, the right costs of that as it relates to the tax code to make sure we're competitive today and into the future.
As you're here at the Capitol this week, what are your conversations like with lawmakers on both sides?
Well, we're here today actually with our business day at the Capitol. We got about 175 people out visiting with their legislators right now. And the message is, what can we do this year on the tax code? We're going to do tax conformity, which creates an opportunity to do a few key things, not big things, but important things this year. We also want to talk a bit about what's the appropriate size of government. Is there a way to become a bit more efficient, to be more effective with the dollars that are spent on behalf of the taxpayers here in the state? There's some things around, again, the workplace mandates that we'd like to see some things done this year. I think this is a topic they should be revisiting every year on the workplace mandates to make sure that they're up to date, that they're competitive with other states, that we are a place that people want to be living in, people that want to have businesses grow here. Doing these things each year when they're in session can make important progress over time.
Welcome back. We continue our conversation now with Minnesota Chamber of Commerce President Doug Loon to talk about Operation Metro Surge and the impact that had on local businesses here in Minnesota, as well as other pressing topics in the legislature. Coming off of Operation Metro Surge, what are businesses in Minnesota feeling right now and the remnants of that?
Well, our state's been through a lot, all the way back to COVID, the George Floyd crisis that we went through. And then we saw some really difficult political situations with some of the leadership here at the Capitol attacked and killed. So we've had a series of really tense, challenging moments in our state. We hope that the legislature can get back into its rhythm, can start to produce good legislation after all these challenges that we've been through, including Operation Metro Surge, which definitely had an impact on workforces and communities around the state, particularly here in the metro. So we're in a kind of, I would say, a healing phase. And I think the opportunity is to work together on a bipartisan basis to improve the economic performance of our state, to ensure a bright economic future for our state and our citizens.
There are some proposals moving forward that would allow for loans or small business relief. Do you support those efforts? Those
are important, and that's an array of all kinds of opportunities. There's been some private market activities done through grants. There's some proposals for the government to step into that space. There's an array of other programs available that can help small businesses in the time of crisis. So we are making those opportunities known on our website to help businesses navigate through those. At the same time, we're seeing now, for example, on another issue, which is important, is we're having tariff rebates. So there's an opportunity now for businesses who have had impact of tariffs on their business to see an opportunity to relieve some of the pressures on their businesses through those as well.
In the middle of the height of the surge, the business community was in a very difficult spot and released a statement that called on all sides to de-escalate. And there was some criticism that it didn't go far enough in criticizing the Trump administration. Do you believe that response was adequate from the community?
It was. It was an important part that the business community was playing, and that was, how do we get to a peaceful end to Operation Metro Surge? The violence that we saw in our streets, the peaceful protesting that went along with that created a sense of confusion and uncertainty. The business community was feeling that in their workforces as well. So there was an effort to try to communicate a message at a critical moment, and it accomplished that. Everybody's going to argue about the words that were in it, but it accomplished that role of bringing attention to the economy and bringing attention to the state to create a peaceful solution to the crisis that we faced.
One of the big issues in the next month in the session will be hospital funding and HCMC. The Downtown Council of Minneapolis has called that one of their top priorities for HCMC. Does the chamber have a stance on helping the hospital?
That is going to be a key ingredient to the end of session, we think. So yes, we want to make sure that something meaningful is done there that helps create the momentum for a successful completion to the session. But I'll say this about our entire hospital system. They're under a great amount of financial stress right now. And there's other things that can be done in the marketplace that surrounds healthcare to try to do a better job to make sure that our hospitals are successful into the future.
In the final month, is there anything else that will be a big topic for you?
No, we're anxious for a successful completion of this session. We saw that in the last session, where both sides came together to produce meaningful reforms. And we did it in the regulatory space last time around on permitting reform, where we built a bipartisan solution with data brought forward from the Chambers Foundation. Those are important moments for us to reflect on to make sure that this session is equally successful at the end of May of 2026.
It's probably hard to be in the position of representing the business community and having to navigate the most narrowly divided legislature in the country.
It creates its challenges, but also we're very creative on how our ability to build consensus, and we've done it on many issues, from data centers in the last session to permitting reform in the last session. We know if we bring a thoughtful solution to a challenge, bringing data to the discussion, we believe we can be successful in making incremental improvements to our state's economy.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of KARE 11 On the Record. Remember, you can catch us every Sunday morning and starting next week over the air as well, 6:30 a.m. on KARE 11. And remember, we're always streaming on demand.